All right, here we go. Part 4 of the series that I'm doing on YouTube about why stretching isn't working for you. And in the previous 3 videos, I ran through things like the structure just doesn't allow the motion that you're looking to achieve. The joint has been damaged and therefore no longer allows the motion you were looking to achieve. Or there's a lack of the other muscles in the body to stabilize all the joints that are required for particular motion, the particular motion that you're looking to achieve. The last one is where fitness tech and what I do comes into play. And it's probably one of the most, I would say, poorly known about contributors to immobility. The technique that I use, muscle activation techniques, and some of the other neuromuscular ones have been around at MAT at least for 20 plus years. I've been doing it for 21, 22 years in one form or the other. Traditionally in the health and fitness industry, we've looked at tightness as being the problem, and the modalities we've developed around that tightness are things to address and get rid of that tightness by addressing that particular tight muscle itself. So limited hip flexion or tight hamstrings, we're gonna go after the tight hamstring. And there's hundreds of different modalities that do that. And they all have a place. It's just questionable whether they're eliciting a lasting response or whether they're just moving the compensation pattern around the body. What I do is identify what's called a neuromuscular weakness. So we have a number of different sensors in the body that feed information back to this supercomputer that is our nervous system. Okay, we've got 2 levels. We've got the brain, and then we've got the motor neurons that sit inside your spinal column. And this feedback loop that I'm referring to, the GABA feedback loop, is going to be part of the lower nervous system, we'll say, the part of the nervous system you find in your spinal column at the motor neurons. So we have a number of different sensors that send information to the motor neurons. We'll go this direction. One of those sensors is called a muscle spindle, and there's millions of them scattered throughout the muscle. The muscle spindle's job is to feed information back to your nervous system about the length and tension on particular muscles as they move a joint through a range of motion. As you move through that range of motion, if the spindle loses the ability to send signal, the body's response to that is then to limit the body's ability to move that joint into that position. So, for example, if I have a burger in my hand, because I'm always eating burgers, and I'm shortening my bicep trying to bring that burger to my mouth, if the muscle spindles can't keep sending information back to my nervous system, then my body's not going to let me bend that elbow any further. And I get this altered mechanics at the elbow, or limitation in range of motion here, which if I then go over here and look at my left arm has no problem making it to my mouth. So at that point, my body has 2 options. I can either stop eating burgers with my right hand, my dominant hand, or and you just use my left hand, or I can bend that elbow as far as I can on the right and then start moving through some other joints to try to get that burger to my mouth that don't involve those particular muscles. And it's this altercation of the movement pattern, compensation pattern that we start ingraining due to this lack of the ability of the spindles to send information that is what ultimately causes the problem and the wear down and breakdown of tissue. If you reference back to one of the other videos I did about the seesaws, or all the different joints in the body being seesaws that stack on top of each other, you can't limit motion at one joint and not have it impact every other joint above and below in the body. And that doesn't always result in pain, but if I was to eat enough burgers over time and have those altered shoulder mechanics and neck mechanics and trunk mechanics to get that burger into my mouth, I'm going to accelerate wear and tear on every other joint than the one that has the weakness associated with it. So this is why when clients come in, they'll say, oh, I've got this crazy shoulder pain, and we end up working on a foot or a hip or a jaw, something completely removed from the area where they're feeling the pain. Again, back to the seesaws, if I elicit a change in that one joint, it's going to ultimately affect how that other joint moves up through the rest of the kinetic chain. So what I do is identify those weaknesses, strengthen those weaknesses with a manual technique, palpation technique, the origin insertion for the most part, and then very, very specific isometric contractions, low-grade isometric contractions to elicit a strengthening of the spindle and this feedback loop. Once you do that, and we've identified all the muscles that cross over the elbow to elicit that bending of the elbow, or to approximate those 2 bones, what happens is that range of motion opens up almost instantaneously, and that tight muscle that they're experiencing in that scenario, the tricep, instantaneously releases. and they start to return back to their normal movement patterns. Now, that's a simplistic kind of view of that. It's very much like peeling back the layers of an onion. So when a client comes in and they have a shoulder pain, I might start working on the foot and we might have to progress up to the hip. So everybody's body is completely different. Sometimes it's as easy as getting one joint stabilized and everything opens up. It really depends on how stressed that individual is, how much inflammation is present in their body, how long they've been kind of dealing with it or not dealing with it, and kind of allowed all these different compensation patterns to get stronger in their body. And then just overall health of the individual is also going to play a big part. So keep that all that in mind. If stretching hasn't been working for you, and maybe it's even making you worse, or maybe you're just tired of being told you need to stretch more, then what I do here at Fitness Tech could be a viable solution for you. So love to have a conversation with us. Shoot me up, shoot me a message here, or shoot me a text. I'd love to chat with you about